presenters is stuck in an airport. Just said so. So let me first introduce you to the chair as well as the two panelists. The chair for this doctoral colloquium is Professor Samarasinghe, G.D. Samarasinghe, and he is really Professor of Department of Industrial Management, Faculty of Business, University of Moratuwa, has been the former head of the Department of the Management of Technology, senior lecturer before that. It's a large curriculum vitae, so I think I will not read everything. So that's really Dr. Dinesh Samarasinghe, the Professor of Research and Consultant in Marketing and Entrepreneurship, Department of Industrial Management, Faculty of Business at the University of Moratuwa. The two panelists are Professor Tarusha Gunaratne. She is the Chair, Professor of Accounting, Coordinator of the DBA program in the University of Colombo, also the Faculty of Management and Finance, University of Colombo. The other panelist is Professor Pavitra Kailaspati, and she is really in the Department of Human Resource Management, Faculty of Management and Finance of the University of Colombo. So let's begin with the presentation. And the first presentation is from DMIA Gunaratne. Yes. She will be talking about the influence, her presentation is on the influence of outline consumer involvement on the usage and intent of telecommunication brands in Sri Lanka. Over to you.
Should I admit? Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I'm Inoka Gunaratne, and today I'm going to present my part of the thesis that I'm planning to do on my doctoral program. And the topic that I'm going to do today is to talk about influence of online consumer involvement on usage intent of telecommunication brands in Sri Lanka. Here is the outline of my presentation today. I'll briefly be talking about the background that gave me the reason to study this and the questions, objectives, significance, and conceptualization and methodology section, and also theoretical background leading to the research. So as my research topic states, there are two things that I'm planning to discuss here in today's presentation. One on consumer involvement and the other one is brand usage intent. There have been several studies conducted on consumer involvement and brand usage intent. Those who have studied these two topics have said different things about consumer involvement. So first, I'm looking at one such definition given by an author. And according to that, they say in consumer involvement is an interest in response to a stimuli based on a long-lasting experience. That interest somebody may somebody may have about a product, its variety, pricing, or some selection, or some other kind of a aspect of the product. And they also say the lower the consumer involvement is, the lower the consumer interest would be. The higher the consumer interest is, higher the consumer involvement would be on a product or a service. But specifically looking at online consumers, because nowadays we do tend to have a lot of online consumers. So therefore, I thought of studying what happens when it comes to online consumer involvement. As all of us know that most of our consumers nowadays are online. They use a lot of social media to find about products and to comment about it and to see reviews and things like that. So I thought of studying about this online consumer involvement because it is quite different than the normal consumer involvement due to several reasons. One reason is online consumer involvement is highly interactive. You can write anything on anything online, and also it's built on social linkages among the people. As long as you belong to a certain particular social group, you happen to get to know the people, you happen to get the ideas of those people, and also the participation in an online forums happen voluntarily. You don't need to force anyone to do that. So people often use media, social media, and they just participate with their online communities. And also, most often with people, online involvement happens sometimes unconsciously and unintentionally. Without thinking, they may be posting certain things which might have an impact over the decision made by someone else. On the other hand, the second aspect that I'm studying is a brand usage intent that is based on what you see online. The usage of a product or usage decision of a product may be impacted or may not be impacted. So the studies conducted on brand usage intent says that most of the brand usage is influenced by perceived incremental value. In return, we identify it as consumer interest on a product or service. And to become a preferred brand, any brand has to go through a certain amount of information processing, which happens online. And it also says the more the consumers get engaged with the product, engaged with communication in the media, it's more likely that they develop a positive attitude towards brand, and it's more likely that can lead to a positive purchase intention. So given all this background information, I thought of studying this topic. There are the two variables that I'm studying. These are my working definitions. Consumer involvement, I define as perceived personal relevance of a product to the needs, values, and goals of a person. And the brand usage intent, I define as the likelihood of a consumer planning to buy or willing to buy a product or a service in the future. So in looking at the practice gap of my study, so as all of us know that many businesses after COVID, they went online. They started reaching their products, they started reaching their customers online. As a result, they were able to reach into the markets that they could not reach earlier. And those were areas that they never thought about it. Few examples would be that, at some given time during the COVID, there were people who were posting about fuel, the places where you can buy fuel online, and people tend to go there and get fuel, and then they introduced a QR to check people movements during the COVID period, and also they introduced the QR register for the fuel. So likewise, there have been a lot of initiatives that has happened during the past COVID period that enabled many organizations to think about this use of online media. So however, there are concerns when it comes to introducing the online media, plus practically sustaining it when it comes to organizations. The reason is you introduce a system, sometimes people may not be using it. There may not be adequate technology. There may not be adequate internet connectivity, and some people may not have the facilities. Some people may not be aware about it, and there are some technical issues as well, like pages being loaded and things like that. And also there may be bugs. And also sometimes people just go comment about things which are not validated. So these are some of the practical issues that we do have when it comes to the content which is published in social media. So that's the practical aspect of my study. When it comes to the empirical aspect of my study, out of the researches that have been conducted based on these topics that I just discussed with you, so the authors suggest that they have studied these factors in different settings, but yet there are no much research identifying the factors affecting the consumer participation in social media often. And then they also say that there is no uniformity in the outcomes that they have gathered as in terms of their studies. Plus, there are other variables that may be affecting the purchase decisions other than the involvement, which has possibly not been studied in the literature. And I put some of the information over here. So that requires new studies to be conducted in this particular area. So theoretically, authors also suggest that the field of social media research is growing, that yet much is unknown and has considerable practical and theoretical significance, as suggested by these authors. And specifically, the engagement with a particular brand is an important area theoretically for the researchers to study. So based on that, I thought I should be studying something on what's the impact of consumer involvement on brand usage intent of telecommunication brands in Sri Lanka. And I'm trying to, by answering this question, I'm looking at certain research problems to be solved, and I do have certain research objectives. Basically, I'm trying to learn what is the current level of consumer involvement when it comes to telecommunication brands in Sri Lanka, and what is the prevailing condition of brand usage intention of telecommunication brands, and does consumer involvement impact the usage intent of telecommunication brands, and what are recommendations that we can do, that we can provide in order to improve the engagement and the involvement in relation to the consumer ideas. And then these research questions have been translated into research objectives. As such, I've got 4 research objectives here. And the significance of this study, so the outcome of this study will be important, especially when it comes to the policy areas concerning national digital programs, because the government do have different initiatives as in terms of digital usage, and there have been also concerns. So the outcome of this research may be helpful to develop certain national policies, and also e-government initiatives, and also online data protection, which is one of the most common issues that many people face nowadays, and also ethical considerations of using online media as in their communications. On the other hand, firms will be benefited by outcomes of this research, as they would understand how they could use the social media, paid and earned media in order to utilize their social media budgets effectively. And also it has certain theoretical implications, as I'm trying to use this based on a theoretical model, which we call value co-creation theory. And I'm so much honored that Dr. Dushan also were talking about co-creation theory. So that is the basis for my study when it comes to the theoretical model. But before arriving at this theoretical model, I in fact look at several other important theoretical models that have been used in consumer involvement literature. And mainly I identified 3 theories as such. One was theory of service dominant logic, and the other one was consumer culture theory, and the last one was theory of co-creation. But there were certain inherent problems when I looked at the service dominant logic and the consumer culture theory. So I thought I probably would be moving with the theory of co-creation. So the idea behind the theory of co-creation is that you get the people who are involved, as in your customers, to contribute in terms of co-creation that can enhance the value of the output of an organization, that you can give it to customers, because it probably is what your customer needs. It's probably what your customer might be thinking about, what they want to need, what they want as in their product or the service. So that helps organizations to easily understand their expectations of the customer and also to modify their requirements as such. And then, so I found certain literature in relation to the hypothesis that I have proposed as in consumer involvement and the brand usage intent. And the research suggests that there is a positive relationship. And I studied literature in relation to consumer involvement, online brand community engagement, consumer engagement, brand usage intent, theory of co-creation, consumer culture theory, and the service dominant logic. In fact, I studied around 112 articles, and I just summarized a couple of important articles as I thought may be important for me to consider. And the seminal paper that I looked at was a paper published in 2014 by Hollybeek, Linda, and et al. But many of these studies, if you look at, these studies have been done in the developed countries. And there are very little literature that I found, the old as well as the recent literature that I found, which was done in a developing country context, and also probably Asian context, and also the Sri Lankan context. So based on this literature that I studied, I developed a conceptual framework. Initially, I thought, okay, it's going to be consumer involvement and brand usage intent. But then in between, I also found a concept based on online brand community engagement, because involvement leads to intention. But then there is certain amount of engagement that it has to occur in between. So I found that it is going to mediate the relationship between these two variables, and I created that as a mediating variable. And my plan for my study is I'm going to do a quantitative study based on positivism paradigm and trying to use survey methods. And it's going to be a cross-section of studies. And mainly I'm trying to use some online surveys. And the plan is to go into the Facebook profiles of consumers who have used these the mobile brands. As such, there are 5 or 6 key mobile brands that many Sri Lankan consumers are using, and they are the fans of those brands. Thank you so much. Sorry about it.
Thank you, Ms. Gunaratna. The very timely topic you have selected, right? We all talk about digital engagement. You are trying to position your study using several theories. Then I congratulate for selecting this area, right? Now we are looking at everything in the industry 5.0, 4.0 topics. Then first I would like to ask some clarification about your topic. Can you go to topic, please?
Yes.
Okay, your topic is influence of online consumer involvement on usage intent of telecommunication brands in Sri Lanka. Now you talk about sort of a digital involvement in your study, right? You say consumer involvement, online consumer involvement. Then what is the particular context you want to bring this online consumer involvement? Now you talk about electronic brands somewhere in the performance gap and the background you talk about. I would like to know why you bring this online consumer involvement. Now you look at simply electronic items, and generally you talk about consumer behavior on online context. But I like to know a specific reason why online consumer involvement. That's a particular psychological construct, involvement. Then you bring them into online or digital context. Any specific reasons and why? The title.
Yes. When it comes to online, I mean, many people now, if you look at Sri Lankan context right now, we have for about 22 million population in Sri Lanka, but around we have for about mobile connectivity around 36 million. It's almost like 167% of the the more than the population. And these people are using, I mean, like majority of them are smartphones, and they're using smartphones to search about products and to review the content and to comment about products when they have experience. Because earlier, when we look at our opinions in the traditional media, there was no way that you can most often convey your opinion to the other people and also to the organization. There were limited opportunities. But with social media, they do have a free opportunity to convey about their experience of consumption either to the organization or with the rest of other consumers who are in the brand communities. As such, in the Sri Lankan context, I'm trying to use Facebook media. The reason why I'm choosing the Facebook is that in Sri Lanka, that is the highest social media population. We have for about right now 7.1 million Facebook users, which is the highest usage. So I'm trying to take Facebook consumers who are using these online, who are using these mobile brands and who are commenting about their social media in their social media pages, either with the brand page, either in their own social media fan page. How are they commenting about things? The consumer
May I disturb you? Like, why you specify social media? Now you say online consumer involvement. Is it only social media you are looking at? Right. Why? Any specific reasons? I don't see any, maybe what you call facts and figures to establish the particular gap, performance gap in the context of this social media. You are not bringing any facts and figures to establish why this is, and this is in the telecommunication brands. I need another justification why you have selected telecommunication brands. In this sector, is there anything you have observed like performance gap or an issue?
Yeah. When I look at the brand performance according to the social media results in the survey, I found there are 10 most powerful brands in Facebook in Sri Lanka. Out of those 10 most powerful brands, we have 3 to 4 mobile brands, and then 2 or 3 retail clothing brands, and then Sri Lankan Airlines, plus 1 or 2 other companies. So if I look at this entire list, sir, out of 10, there were 3 telecommunication service brands. So I thought, because they are mostly on social media, they are in the first 10 ranks, and I cannot practically go and look at all the other industries because the involvement vary based on different products. So I thought I must select one product out of that. So that is a reason for me to select
But I think you need more than that good justification you have to create, right? But I didn't see any numbers also. You are talking about this telecommunication sector. You said a survey or something. Have you had a survey or some pilot study on this or secondary data?
It was a secondary information, and I in fact have included, I started writing my report. In the report I included, but then here when it comes to the presentation with limited slides, I did not include that information in my slide.
Yes, I think you need a good justification for that. And also I saw the reference you are having up to 2020. But after 2020, there are 3 or 2 years, there can be a lot of changes, right? In the sector and also in this area. Even empirical gap you are talking about. But empirical gap you are talking up to 2018 in your literature. But I don't see for the last 5 years you are bringing any new articles. So empirical gap, no, right? That is another thing. Then most importantly, theoretical gap, right? Now you talk about 3 theories, value co-creation you talk about, but what is the relevance of these theories? What about the theories others have looked at in consumer involvement? Have you looked at any other theories? They have looked at this as psychological construct, involvement. Then anything from the psychology or any other theories have you looked at? Now you simply talk about value co-creation and culture theory. Then what's the relevance of these theories?
The value co-creation why I took was because now consumers, when they engage in the social media, they take part in the value co-creation process with the organization. So I thought because people are engaging and they are contributing to the creation of the value within their social media, that probably may be the best suited theory for my study. But then the other 2 they had some issues as in the theoretical model in incorporating into my study. But other than that, there were a couple of other theories that I went through, but I didn't study about them in detail.
And then what is the novelty of your study? Now you talk about, you bring this theory and two more theories also you are suggesting, but I don't see what's the contribution to novelty. What's the current gaps in this particular theory which you have selected? Any gaps have you observed?
The co-creation concept has been studied to some extent in developed countries, in the context of developed countries, but culturally there are a lot of differences between the developed and underdeveloped or developing countries. So the research that I have studied are mainly focused on developed nations, majority of them old and new, and there were limited research on the Sri Lankan context. So I thought, because culturally our consumption patterns and the way people comment about things and the way they use social media differs.
Yes.
So I
but,
thought,
but you are looking at this, you are from a positivistic tradition, and you are trying to generalize, and you are trying to use some quantitative aspect of your model and testing hypothesis. But I don't know whether culture theory can be ideal one to be embedded in your model and support. I don't see anything in the theory and that is linked to the model. Can you show me the model there? Now, can you show me how we are going to map these particular theories onto the conceptual framework from your theoretical frameworks?
Yeah. So I'm trying to map the co-creation theory into online brand community engagement. That's where the co-creation happens. So that's how I thought I possibly would inculcate the theory into the concept.
But that is only one theory. Then you talk about culture theory. Then where does it come? My advice is, don't have too many theories. Right? Maybe in one theory you can see the gaps first, but I didn't see the gap analysis in the current theory when you talk about this value co-creation. And I have some ideas now. You are looking at something on the social media context, right? Have you read about sometimes maybe users and gratification theory? Now you are looking at particular context where digital involvement is there, right? In the digital context, if you look at media theory, mass media, you can see users and gratification. I don't see any what do you call systematic literature review in terms of theoretical approaches they have had so far. Look at this digital engagement or the social media engagement. Have you looked at those things?
Not in detail, but I have come across this theory.
That's why your theoretical gap, I didn't see actual contribution. I think I like to highlight, maybe you had time, right? Just started, right? These are some.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle of the research, but still I have time to impact.
Yes, and the most important thing is that at this level, I think you have to have a very good problem statement. You say in your abstract how online consumer involvement result in brand what do you call brand related behavior, then I don't see that alignment, your background and what you propose as a research problem, and also the conceptual framework. That alignment, I think, is very important at this level. Therefore, identify the right theory or 2 or 3 theories. They should be linked to the conceptual, should be supporting the conceptual framework. That alignment you have to have. Those are some of the comments I have. In addition, your methodology also you are talking about in brief. You are having, you say proposition. Why proposition or hypothesis? Why propositions you bring? This is a quantitative study, I think.
Yeah, qualitative.
But in qualitative language, maybe you can say proposition, use only hypothesis, right? That is another concern. And another advice now, I like, this is too general. Now you study. Better if you can look at, maybe by looking at something like SOR framework, as a particular broader framework, right? What do you call stimulus, organism, and response, within which, if you can see, now you are looking at consumers, certain attitudes, right? What do you call cognitive affective behavior dimensions you are looking at. If you can look at relevant to online media, particular one stimuli or particular specific aspect and link that to their brand related consequences and outcomes, then it is your study is more focused. Now there are a lot of studies like this, very, very generic. Now you are going to have PhD, no? Therefore, you have to position in a particular narrow area in depth. That is another advice. Look at one aspect of maybe even visual stimuli, or it can be on a music, or it can be pictorial aspect of this digital media, right? Then you can dig into that. This is too general. That is my view, right? Then you can think of something like that. And another thing is about you say in your title, purchase intent. But I think here purchase intention, right? You have to be careful when you look at the title also, right? There can be different meaning sometimes, intent and intention. Do you mean involvement and engagement are the same? Sometimes you talk about engagement here. Somewhere you talk about what do you call involvement?
Two things.
Two things.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Consumer involvement is mostly, they say, a passive form of information processing.
Mm.
When it comes to consumer engagement, it's more active form of information processing. If you look at that cognitive, affective, and behavioral, engagement is more effective, whereas involvement is more cognitive.
Yes, and I like to see sometimes if you look at the literature, this involvement is a more of a moderating variable. We say that, right? You can see involvement, right? Sometimes you can look at the context also, whether it's a high involvement or low involvement. I don't know whether you're looking at these electronic items and customers' involvement. Now, your definition was about the relevance when you define the involvement. But if you look at the proper definition, not only relevance, even the importance as well. Both you have to look at. Why you are looking at only relevance in your definition? Operational work in operation. Yes, yes, yes. Take this positive, right? I am giving you right. You say pursued personal relevance, but I see with that what do you call importance as well, right? As another important aspect, not only relevance. Therefore, you have to get from the literature. I don't know whether you develop this or you borrowed from the literature. I don't see the sources. Even you have to be.
This is my working definition I developed.
Where did you adopt it or adapt?
That I wrote it, sir.
But
Because for my research, I wrote it.
So you talk about digital and all that. Where is the digital part in your definition? Because this is just a common definition. But you go on from the beginning about online consumer involvement, all about social media, online, but that is not being captured by your definitions because it's a general one.
that's why I think digital engagement you have to highlight. I think there can be literature, or you can develop one with the backing of maybe literature, but I don't see any sources even, right? Then it is not acceptable. Like when you say your own definition, right? Be mindful about that also. And also there you say brand usage intention. You are looking at consumers' purchase intention, or what's a particular idea?
It probably can be anything related to the. It's not necessarily the purchase itself. It can be use, or maybe future usage, repurchase, anything as such. Because when it comes to the consumers, especially the mobile connections, they may be weaving online content to buy it. Some may be thinking about changing the phone, but not really right now trying to do it. So
But be specific. Our advice is be specific. When you talk about your dependent variable, right? You have to be specific, and you say your research problem, how online consumer involvement result in brand related behavior. But your dependent variable is about only intention, right? Again, have a alignment. Yes, if you look at theory of planned behavior, right, where we look at the intention as a most close one to predict, but not the actual behavior, right? Therefore, have it and theoretical framework you have to revisit, I think, right? That is another advice. And what are you anchoring these electronic products? That's why I said that high involvement or low involvement in marketing we talk about, right? What's the product category? Even that might also affect your particular, what you call involvement. Therefore, look at whether you are looking at high involvement or low involvement, or whether you're going to have a comparison. That is also to be addressed. And be more specific about some application or something in the particular digital media. Then that is more specific, right? Maybe looking at SOR framework or something you can use. Those are some of my comments for you to think. Thank you. I think our two panelists, they can comment.
I'll be just quick because in addition to what Professor Dinesh had to say, for me, like I said, the definitions don't match with what you want to do. I also had a concern about your research problem because the problem needs to highlight what is the issue with regard to whether it's brand usage intent or whatever. Your research problem, so it's like a research question, right? And then at doctoral level, I feel your model is so simplistic. It's very simplistic. Even at undergraduate level, people do much more complicated models, conceptual models. So think about that as well. And you showed in terms of methodology, now when you were answering his question, you talked about FP and all that. So you seem to be targeting certain purposive sampling, those who were involved in Facebook commenting and all that. That is not reflected in your methodology in terms of how you're going to select your sample, who your sample is. So basically for me, I came here after reading this abstract. Abstract also didn't gel, right? You were just right. I mean, if you look at Emerald publications, they have this structure. So even if you don't structure an abstract, but look at what needs to be there in an abstract, and because those things were missing in your abstract. So it's like here and there everywhere. So for me, the basic problem is how you disseminate what you want to do. It wasn't gelling properly. You said started with online. There was nothing about online in your definitions. Then you ended your literature review, whatever, with one hypothesis. Then your model shows 5 hypotheses. So it wasn't like, I felt like you yourself are not clear what you want to do. That's the sort of impression I got, because in different places you are saying different things. So you need to be very focused and have this clear flow message about what your things. I'll stop with that.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and I'm sure you got a lot of comments regarding the methodology, literature, etc. So I'll be very quick with some points for improvement in terms of presentation and your slides, maybe, presumably. Of course, I do agree with a lot of the comments they shared, and especially in the background, etc. I didn't see anything after 2016. So you have to show that your study is current. So we are in 2023. How does your proposed study is going to inform the current body of knowledge? What in terms of what's known and worthy of knowing, you have to really position your study. So bring in more citations from the current literature. Then again, in terms of the slide designs, because since a lot of other points you got it. Now, for instance, this slide, the font sizes are very big, but some slides, again, they are quite small. So try to, manage your content within what you want to say. Try to have bullet points, less content, paragraphs, etc. Include slide numbers. Those little things would help you to, improve, especially at the doctoral level, to improve your slides. And when there, I saw some abbreviations also. Spell out them in full before you, go and, use the abbreviation. Then also the key definitions, this one. So while this is your working definition, you have to cite based on whose studies that you have really decided on this working definition. Then 2004 A I saw. So if you have A, you put A if there is another B also. Maybe in your case, I didn't quite see a B. So if it's the same author, same year, then only you put A and B. So presumably you can get do away with the A. And the literature review slide also, especially because it's literature review, rather than only listing the areas, you need to also give the citations. And you did say there are very limited Sri Lankan studies. By any chance, did you find any Sri Lankan studies? If so, you need to bring that in and show how your study is going to be different from that Sri Lankan study as well. Okay, thank you. So these are for your continuous improvement, and wish you good luck with your study.
May I ask a question, Professor Dinesh? Can I ask a question? Yeah,
Fine for the audience.
yeah, I know. Yeah, is it okay to ask a question? Yeah, I think it's a very relevant and pertinent study. I'm an applied researcher, so what I'm asking is, I'm in your intent, brand usage intent, I'm looking at the lens of Gallen 1881, who talks about tri-component model cognitive, affective, and emotive ways of looking. So there can be so many things go beyond to the purchase, right? Now, in a survey, how do you measure your intent?
Since this is in the quantitative context, I've got the certain scale items based on the previous literature to measure it.
Yeah, but then
Uh,
that is going to be it's you are getting
It's actually perceived intent.
no, you are getting a numerical tick on a scale,
Yeah.
but that is not realistic. So I think you may need to find a, because if you are trying to study the behavior, it's important to get a realistic response. Otherwise, not a tick on a scale. I think you need to have a mechanism on that area. Otherwise, these are set of now analysis of numbers. Understood. So see whether you can get that into your kind of. Is there any idea that you have?
It's actually perceived intent, we call it, in the sense it's not actual intention to, I mean, like, it's not actual purchase. Whether given all these factors, do you consider to purchase kind of a thing?
I think you need to do a little bit of, now if you are crafting a questionnaire, you need to do a little bit of qualitative search, how people decode these kind of questions. And you have to have a prior understanding the way they decode and respond. If you have that, then you can have better interpretation of your data. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi.
Okay, we are on the second presentation, and that is by Chandrika Dahanayaka. Her topic is capitalization of knowledge within public research institutions, colon, a pragmatic approach.
Good afternoon, dear panelists and my audience. My title is as said by the capitalization of knowledge within public research institution, a pragmatic approach. This is the outline of my presentation. And before moving to the background, I would like to mention about think about the plumber or electrician. When knowledge generated in the form of a personal know-how, normally electrician or plumber, they produce the direct economic value. Even similarly, the scientists, when they generate intellectual property like patent, copyright, or teaching, it is the commercialization of knowledge. So that is I wanted to show the power of knowledge and the economic growth. So the literature also showed the relationship between knowledge and economic growth. And even in March 1991, all knows that organization knowledge is the most strategic resources, and it is acquired and applied through a mechanism of exploration and exploitation. So this mechanism contributes to organization's innovation process, and ultimately it leads to the economic growth of the country. That is the background of my study. So the capitalization knowledge is the emerging mode of production. It's identified before the 19th century, 20th century. And we know the much of the research available in entrepreneurial universities. And same time, Joseph Schumpeter grounded his idea in the innovation economy. So today, the innovation economics in the 21st century, entrepreneurship and innovation in knowledge and technology studies, and this innovation economics that grounded the idea by the Schumpeter in 1942 become a mainstream concept. For that background, I thought of getting the key definition of my construct. So the exploration, exploitation, and innovation economics. So I have not still done the working definition. I have taken March and 2007 Berlin Days definition on exploration and exploitation. And basically exploration, I am talk about the application of external knowledge to produce new products. That is my exploration definition. And the exploitation, application of external knowledge to refine the organizational existing products and improve its process. So through the Schumpeter's grounded idea, the innovation economics I have taken like appropriate knowledge, innovation and entrepreneurship operating within an institution environment. So all these construct within the organization, I have this performance gap in my study. So according to the Global Innovation Index 2022, industrial countries are most prominent because these countries are more successful in utilizing science and technology for their economic development. But we think about the Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka in the 85th position at the Global Innovation Index. Therefore, as a developing country, we are in a very lowest level within the Global Innovation Index. And also Science and Technology Innovation Strategy Sri Lanka identify the overall research and development in Sri Lanka in contribution to the innovation is at very low level. And also they have identified challenges in national science and technology policy, because they have identified scientific organizations give more recognition for research publication, and they are less on patent industrial designs. So also the commercialization of innovation product, process and services are also few. And also when we think about the government involvement, Sri Lanka government given the second highest research and development is investment is for the government sector. Out of that, 41% is expenditure given for the use of agricultural research. So that background, my performance gap, I thought Sri Lanka has not gained the desired level of science-based technological innovation and far behind in the number of innovation output. And based on that, I have gone for the empirically what this phenomena is found in the empirically. So there are few studies on integration of synthesis of knowledge perspectives in organization. And also many underexplored research themes related how a specific form of knowledge facilitate innovation and entrepreneurship and ultimately lead to the economic growth. And also there are research on entrepreneurial universities, but very few research on application of entrepreneurship towards the research institutions. And there are also the vacuum in the literature, especially the knowledge transfer in the public research institution, public organization. And also in the academic entrepreneurial literature, the role of academic scientist or researcher as an agent of entrepreneurial peace is often neglected. And same time, the literature shows there is a good potential for entrepreneurial education, and also in the developing country, it's a good contribution for the socio-economic development of developing countries. All these empirical gap move my study to find out that performance gap. So based on that, I have gone for what is the theoretical gap in this phenomena. So I use the knowledge-based view, which express knowledge as a critical strategic organization resource in terms of market value. But this knowledge-based view is a better explained resource-based theory, but the theoretical explanation of the knowledge-based view not given how and what extent it's among the organizational phenomena, it's not very clearly explained. So I thought there is a gap in explaining through knowledge-based view the performance gap of my research problem. So I thought of putting that gap. I thought identifying Schumpeter ideology, who in 1942 and 49, he has identified the role of entrepreneurship and dynamics of innovation to assess performance of public research institutions. So I have taken the Schumpeter ideology to fill that knowledge-based view gap and proceed with this theoretical gap to my research problem. So based on that, my research problem, I have taken like, there are various mechanisms in production of knowledge at the agricultural based public research institutions. However, utilization of knowledge targeting better economic output is not happen in these institutions. So that is my problem statement. Based on that problem statement, I have understand several questions, research questions. First one is what are the ways and means of knowledge production at the public research institution in Sri Lanka? So I have taken it to two different things: how exploration happen in the public research institution, how exploitation happen in the public research institution. And the second one, then I wanted to find out how generated knowledge transferred to innovation economics at the public research institution. And finally, with all these things, I wanted to find out what is the best ambidextrosity model within the public research institution towards innovation economics. So, so based on that research question, my purpose of this study to explore the process of knowledge production at agricultural based public research institution and their knowledge utilization and its impact on innovative business startup. Because this will enhance effective delivery system within the public research institution targeting better economic output. Therefore, following objectives are highlighted from that research question and my purpose of study to describe the ways and means of knowledge production at the public research institution in Sri Lanka, to explore the exploitation of knowledge in the public research institution in Sri Lanka, to evaluate the ambidextrosity model that can be proposed for the public research toward innovation economics. So the significance of this study, empirically, this study aims to explore the internal mechanism where efficient transferring of knowledge within the organizational process. And also through the empirically, it can find out efficient management of organization that integrate knowledge through exploration and exploitation and utilize to create economic value. That is the organization management process need to be understood. And also through the theoretical significance of this study is to, this is the advancement of knowledge-based view. That is knowledge-based view not clearly explain the organizational value, and therefore Schumpeter ideology will theoretically this fit into the knowledge-based view, and it will present the study direct management attention, how the maximizing the external knowledge, and also it's inquire the organizational landscape to maximize organizational knowledge. So that is the theoretical and empirical significance. And accordingly, my theoretical answers are the knowledge-based view will be the overreaching theoretical framework, because it is the one of the most powerful and prominent theories for understanding organizational performances. But however, empirical studies mainly focus on the direct link between individual components or arrangement of resources from the knowledge-based view. Therefore, due to that reason, it does not explain the productive use of knowledge within the organization. That is why the proposed to bridge that gap to integrate a Schumpeterian ideology to the knowledge-based view. So based on that, I will explain through my conceptual framework and go through with these propositions. First proposition is the exploration process, how exploration process has a positive influence on innovation economics. And the second one is the how absorptive capacity moderate the exploration. Sorry. Yeah, okay. This is my conceptual indicator model. So I have taken the absorptive capacity at the moderating variable and how its exploration and exploitation effect on this. And this is because my philosophical foundation is pragmatism, and I use mixed method because subjectivism and objectivism within this research design. Therefore, I have taken the quantitative measures for the propositions and entrepreneurship part taken as a qualitative. That's why I am using the mixed method and the pragmatism, because I want to find out the complexity of this problem and use both subjectivism and objectivism and taken qualitative and quantitative measures. So I have taken the survey and also the unit of analysis organization level, public research institution I am measuring. And also I have taken the study population or public sector agricultural research institution within the national innovation system. There are 14 research institutions like tea research institution, rubber research institution, agriculture ministry. There are a lot of institution, and my sample is the total study population I am taken as the sample, and survey is as a quantitatively I have taken the survey structured questionnaire, and questionnaire will be filled by the organization level, and qualitatively I am taking the case study of 2-3 research and development projects to be identified from the study population, and the key informant interview, combine that case study thing. Qualitatively I taken the things, and trustworthiness is there, and this is the statistical techniques.
Thank you, Ms. Dahanayaka. I think you have selected very important area, right? We are always asking why we are not productive, especially public sector organization, including universities. Can you go to your research problem? I don't want to take much time. Yes. You say there are various mechanisms, but the thing is, I don't see any puzzle or any way of presenting a research problem here. Right? It's very generic terms. Now you had very good performance gap. You were talking about even empirical gap also to a certain extent, but I didn't see good theoretical gap and good problem statement. You have to have maybe why or how. I don't see how you are having this sort of a what you call inquiry in your research problem statement. Think about that one. That should be very important. And the other thing is about conceptual clarity also I want to look at, right? You talk about exploitation versus exploitation, and you talk about knowledge-based view. These are related. But I don't see you are positioning your study in a particular place, right? In the particular context of this, what you call knowledge-based view of the organization, relevant to the particular institution. So you are talking about. That is one thing you have to further revisit in your study. Last thing is about you are going to have this pragmatic view and sort of different methods, no? Then I don't know whether this saying this quantitative methodology would be ideal. Maybe sometimes case studies and the qualitative inquiry might be sufficient at the PhD level. I think that is my view. Why you are going for this sort of mixed method and having quantitative approach? That is, you can rethink whether you need it. Those are some of the observations. I can give the time to other panelists as well. Thank you.
Sir, can you interrupt me? This quantitative thing, because question one, sir, because I wanted to find out last 10 years or 6 years, what happened to the public research institution? What is their produce? What they have produced, why they have not innovatively produced that? That question one can't be captured from the qualitative angle. Yeah. Yeah.
Because your population equals sample is equal to 14, analysis is not possible. That's the, I mean, it won't be meaningful. That's the problem. Because it's case study, you comment and then
Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Interesting area. I also feel now you are trying to touch upon many things. You have to be very clear what you want to do, and especially the initial slides, you can make it more clear, simplify. You have to
No.
you have to simplify your study to make it more with lot of clarity, to make it more understandable what you really want to do, why you want to do. Then you talk about public research institutes, and later you're going to focus on the agriculture, no?
Yeah.
So
because-
that also needs a clear justification, because when we say public research institutions, that doesn't only mean agriculture. So you have to kind of bring that discussion why you're narrowing down there and what's the reason. Because here only you're really bringing down the agriculture part. Then later you say you're going to do 2 or 3 cases. Yes, that would possibly be a good path to follow, but you have to be very careful how you select the cases, why those cases, how they are going to be really suitable to explore those research questions. You need to really think on that angle, because if you try to bring quantity, I know mixed method and you have, whereas it was not quite there in the abstract, but in the presentation, you have mentioned which mixed method strategy, all that. But I feel it also sharing the same sentiments to the other panelists. It can be very too complicated. You can go more depth into the study by say doing a qualitative inquiry, but you have to be very careful in terms of the selection of the particular cases. Then in terms of theory also, you're say you have a main theory, then supplementing with another perspective, then how those two complement, why that particular theory is not sufficient, and why you are going to bring the second one, and what additional theoretical support that's going to bring to your study needs to be clearly brought in. And it says it's a conceptual paper, I suppose. In the
Yeah. because,
write up you mention, and later you say it's mixed method. That was a bit so you're going to adopt the mixed method strategy that
still
yeah.
I am in the
Okay,
work
okay,
of
that was a bit
present,
yeah, right.
Still not
And
accepted.
yes,
by
because
the
there are many terms now. You talk about entrepreneurial universities, all that. So maybe you can't talk about everything. Clearly identify where you want to position and go on that path more deeply and directly. Okay. And you have to really bring that argument through, and maybe go with agriculture base, and then really take that path rather than talking about all public research institutes. So you can't, from the 14, you select 2, 3, and it's not about generalizing in that manner, rather going deep into the particular cases that you select. Okay, thank
Madam,
you.
thing is, sector I am taking the agriculture.
Yes,
Lot
that
of
you
public-
can justify. So from the after the background, you have to justify why you are going for agriculture, and maybe from the initial stage you will have to bring that, because suddenly otherwise at the problem statement only you bring agriculture to the foreground. But that should be, you should build up to the choice of agriculture from the background. Okay, thank you.
Quick few things. I would also like to emphasize about the research problem. Now, if you go to slide 9, this is in terms of presentation and all that. Because when you write research problems or research questions and all that, standalone, people should be able to understand it without having to So when you start using abbreviations like IE and PRIs, people don't understand. So try to reduce using abbreviations. Can you go to your model, please? My question is, now you say your unit of analysis is organization. Is innovation economics actually at organization level?
Yes, organization, because in one organization, there could be in a year, there are different research project implemented.
So is that the definition of innovation economics?
No, sir, madam, I didn't work in definition. I didn't.
No,
say
I
that.
don't care about working
Yeah.
definition, but
Innovation
because I
economics is
just Googled it. It
it's a-
says,
appropriate knowledge. It's the first key definition. It's a appropriate knowledge, innovation, and entrepreneurship operating within an institutional environment.
okay. So have you, if you are going to do it quantitatively, are there actual measures developed, validated measures?
Because I have operational plan, madam, I have developed the operational
No. I am asking something.
okay.
Because don't go to develop your own
So
measurement.
innovation economics very rare.
So how are you planning to do it quantitatively? If you said quantitatively, where are you going to get the measure?
I have taken this definition. Based on this definition,
You know,
not-
measurement development itself is part of a PhD, right? You have to go through so many steps, surveys to first, interview. Yeah. Develop, so many focus groups to come with the definition, generate items, refine items. You can ask, Professor Dushan is not here. He presented one of the in dialogue session about how his PhD was on scale development. You have to do so many.
going to innovation economic scale, no?
Yeah. So if you don't have a measurement which is already validated, then you're going to have the quantitative part. So that's why earlier also we were talking about to take case studies and entirely do it qualitatively. So those things you need to develop. But one thing I would like to say is, this is, I think I'm hearing your third or fourth presentation over the years.
Yeah.
One thing I'm happy about is you are focused on what you want to do and you're chugging along, taking comments and progressing. That part I'm happy about, but there's still some more work to do. And also part of the PhD doing research is also about dissemination. You're doing a good presentation, but you need to improve your writing. There were some issues in understandable, so that also needs to be improved.
Madam, if we are going to say innovation economics, because that is my dependable variable.
Yeah,
and even
depend,
that is
not dependable,
dependent
dependent variable.
variable. Sorry.
Yeah.
So innovation economics, Adam, I have taken because it is the term that contribute to the economic development. So if I put it to a lesser amount like a knowledge production thing, we can't expect the economic impact from that term. So I wanted to have a public research institution that could be contribute to the economy. So that's why I
Yeah, but
talk about-
also the problem would be, although, I mean, you can say this is the intention, this is what, but so after knowledge, whether it's about commercialize, like they were talking about commercialization and whatever. So after that, then theoretically, or you can in your writing say this hopefully will lead to development of the economy or something like that. You don't have to measure it. That can be your aim. Why this is important is it leads to this.
Yeah, this can't measure
Yeah.
very clever. Knowledge production can measure, but this
So you need to write that as your context of your research. Your context is innovation economics. For that to happen, you need to show how universities, PRIs, whatever need to come up with new knowledge, new products, new whatever and all that. So it's in that, so that doesn't, so when you write it in, set your research in that context, you don't need to really measure innovation. You, through literature, show how these would then lead to innovation economics. So you stop with something that is like, how many they, knowledge production, how many they have commercialized or those that can be really measured. Then that part is the discussion where you show hopefully these, when there is more, will lead to innovation. I'm very conscious of what
Actually, I think I'm also feel that the innovation economy, as the erudite panel was suggesting, that particular definition is very clearly need to be understood. In my opinion, to understand now that particular statement, you need to understand the clarity of innovation, what innovation really means and what entrepreneurship really means. For that, I suggest if you can read the MIT definition of innovation and very interestingly, Harvard definition of entrepreneurship. That will be very relevant to what you are planning to do. By the way, where are you working?
I'm the
I-
Victor Comeback
I thought so. I thought so. All the best.
Last presentation. Unfortunately, the fourth presentation is not coming because he is stuck in the airport. Okay. Right, we have a last presentation for the doctoral colloquium, and that is from Janadari Vijayasinghe. Her topic is multiple theoretical perspectives towards agency problem, the agency problem, colon unregulated non-state higher education institutes. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, now it's good afternoon, actually. Sorry. So let me, before I proceed with my presentation, let me raise a question to the audience. Have you ever thought that next generation of this country is entangled by the agency principal relationship, actually a cobweb of agency principal relationship of unregulated non-state higher education sector? I'm sure that you have never thought of that cobweb at all. So let me have this multiple theoretical approach towards this agency problem in the unregulated non-state higher education sector. This is the sequence of this presentation. And let me start with the background to the study. The use of education agents in the international student recruitment perspective actually has now become a global phenomenon, and clients institutions especially can be found in many countries, and it's a widely used marketing strategy. According to Nicola and Kivisto 2017, and especially in the Independent Commission Against Corruption, RCAC 2015. These are recent findings regarding the education agents, because the most recent article was published in 2023 by Nicola and Kivisto. This is in respect of international student recruitment perspective. So unfortunately, many universities globally do not have policies for combating these unethical practices, such as contractual cheating, which is a growth threat, while abundance of policies are available to combat plagiarism, according to this UK NIC 2023 data. However, countries such as Ireland, England, Australia, and Canada are working on the legislations on contract cheating in higher education. So with that background note, let me commence with the key definition. The key definition of this study is the principal agency relationship. Actually, between two parties, this principal agency relationship exists, where one party, the principal, engages the other to perform tasks on their behalf, as mentioned by Rose 1973, Jensen and McLean 1976, and Eisenhower 1989. Now, this is a very old, actually, definition, I must say. Now, I mean, research articles has been written, and recently Zhu and Zhang has been written on modest definition on this, and the relationship has been more advanced in the principal agency relationship, as you can see in this image. It's a really, realistically, it's a cobweb, and now it has become a kind of a multi-agents theory, not an agency theory. So you can see basically the principal signs the MOU with the local agent. That is what all of us know. Rather than that, there are designated centers appointed by the principal in foreign university. Sometimes they appoint a foreign agent, which is a resident person. Sometimes they appoint a non-resident person. So anyhow, these relationship actually I was encountered through a preliminary interview. It is a purposive judgmental sample of 120 agents conducted with a kind of self-administered informal interview process with all these unregulated sector agents involved in this unregulated higher education sector. It's a preliminary study actually to get the research idea and the generation of the research idea basically. So with that, I have conducted the systematic literature review according to FINC 2010 module based on the journals of higher education. between 2005 and 2022. Actually, preliminary study was conducted 2019 to 2022. So I have checked all these things with the ABDC rank journals also, because I believe that the higher education sector is expanding widely. So as mentioned by Bray and Major 2011, I didn't limit it to systematic literature FING 2010. I just went on searching for ABDC rank journals as well. So out of that, I encountered this performance gap, the presence of unethical practices within unregulated non-state higher education institutes leading to agency problem within the culture and climate of post-colonial states. Actually, you can see in the preliminary study, I found these breaches, these issues actually breaches the interests of students and breaches the interests of client institutions. Examples I have mentioned, that is submission of fake credentials, fabrication of documents, accidentally incomplete information they are giving to students and client institutions, and negative information about client institution, fraud, unauthorized subcontracting, leaking sensitive information. So these are the issues that I have encountered, and this is the performance gap. So based on the performance gap, then I went on empirical gap also. Less scholarly attempt in search of behavioral intentions was there. I must say, before I proceed, this agency principle relationship has been mentioned in the agency theory, basically. But in that agency theory, they have mentioned the reasons as adverse selection, goal congruence, and moral hazards, and adverse selection. These are the reasons they have mentioned based on behavioral assumptions as causes for agency problem. And they have not searched in behavioral intention terms and didn't give a kind of a holistic approach to the agency problem as mentioned by Kivis 2008. And very little research examine all these simultaneously, and therefore is need of attention by researchers according to Tan and Liu 2012. And this is the empirical gap. Past scholarship has not been recognized in the management literature. Such unethical practices committed within an agency problem in a default climate and culture of post-colonial states, and only specifies reasons for agency problem based on behavioral assumptions. I must say that this climate and culture of post-colonial states is really important because there is a lapse of regulation in these states most of the time. That is why these unethical practices come into the scene. So let me proceed with the theoretical gap. As I mentioned at the very beginning, agency principal relationship is mentioned in the agency theory. However, according to systematic literature review conducted between 2005 and 2022, explores gaps in the agency theory in the FING systematic literature review module based on data based on the status of 16 academic publications in the field of higher education based on prestige status, Bray and Major 2011, 8 major subject and themes found in the higher education research according to TIDE 2012, and academic work, knowledge and research, teaching, learning, course design, student experience, quality, system and policy. And all these 8 criteria have gone through where the agency theory is involved in these relationships. So I found only 16 articles, and I have already cross-checked with the ABDC rank journals also. So out of that, according to the systematic literature review, it was revealed that according to Nicola and Kivis 2018, ultimately, complications arise from the present theory's incapacity to sufficiently address this holistic theoretical view. The reasons for agency problems are there, but it's not viewed in a holistic manner. So that is the issue here. Holistic theoretical view giving rise to agency problem. So agency is not generally employed in the higher education research in the mainstream of higher education due to complexities of relationships in the higher education institutions. So emanating from these theoretical gaps, I encountered these problem statement present of unethical practices between principals and agents are engaged to win the local recognition, and different patterns of relationship engaging within agency problem impact on subalterns and other stakeholders have not mentioned. So out of that problem statement, let me come up with this research question: how principal and agents of non-state higher education sector commit unethical practices in order to obtain local recognition? Why principals and agents of non-state higher education sector behave unethically? what is the impact of such unethical behavior on the non-state higher education sector? So these are the research questions. And my purpose of this study is to provide a holistic view to the management literature, to the domain of structure and agency and the organization behavior pertinent to agency problem, as less scholarly attempt be made to explore unethical practices yet in the non-state higher education sector, specifically within the default climate and culture of post-colonial states. As you know, these post-colonial states are still problems rather than solutions, as mentioned by Spivak 2013. And the objective is to explore multiple theoretical approaches towards addressing the agency problem of unregulated higher education sector. So I have to mention briefly here the empirical significance. Scholarly attempts are scarce in the study of holistic view towards the agency problem, and different patterns of agency problems, specifically in the unregulated sector, is scarce, according to Nicola and Kivis 2018, and very recently found Zhou and Zhu 2019, a Chinese scholar has revealed. So theoretical significance here is up to date. Multiple theoretical perspective is not used and engaged within the climate and culture of post-colonial states, suggests that, as suggests here, that immoral behavior which leads to agency problem is shaped by their immoral behavior intentions. So agency problem has not been viewed through multiple theoretical lenses so far, to the best of my knowledge. And consequently, in this paper, I opt to actually take this critical theory, post-colonial theory, subaltern theory, and finally social cognitive theory and theory of planned behavior to see the holistic view to these behavioral intentions behind this agency problem. So therefore, I'm actually reaching to this cobweb theory of agency principal relationship, which is of original theoretical value. I have mentioned at the preliminary study as well, which I have encountered at the preliminary stage also. It's completely a cobweb. So it's a cobweb theory of agency principal relationship. It can be testable, it can be novel. And so these are the important significance. Okay, so the theoretical framework here is basically, I have to mention that agency theory is the foundation theory, but it has lacuna in mentioning certain things because it specifies only the problems for reasons for agency problem, like adverse selection, goal congruence, and then moral hazards. But I have opted to critical theory and post-colonial theory and other theories because it gives a holistic view. So in this Hobbes and Hawke 2006, they have mentioned that multiple theoretical approach gives much wider approach, understanding, and complementariness in applying this perspective to have a holistic view. Accordingly, I have used 7 propositions and theories in order to come up with the concept indicator model. And each of these construct is based on a distinctive theory. So these are the propositions. I think time is not sufficient to brief these propositions. Tension between internal interest and compulsion for recognition is there. Briefly, I have to say that there is much tension available in the higher education industry in winning this recognition, and lapse of regulation in the non-state higher education sector induces agents to engage in unethical agency problems. And they need to be written actually so that they can be enforced, that there must be institutions to implement them according to Berghoff and Klessens 2006. And behavioral intentions between principal and agents lead to unethical agency problem. And this has been not utilized actually in the mainstream of higher education, actually, this agency problem properly, and especially the agency theory. And I will quickly go through these propositions and I'll come up with the final proposition. Behavioral intentions coupled with perceived behavioral control attitudes, subjective norms, moderate the impact of lapses in regulation in the non-state higher education on these agents' choice of resort to unethical behavior, such that in the presence of strong regulatory framework, agents refrain from engaging unethical behavior and quit the industry as they cannot take advantage of the opportunity to obtain recognition. Actually, this is the conceptual indicator model that behavior intentions, perceived behavioral control, attitudes, and subjective norms, as mentioned by theory of planned behavior, and further environmental deterministic view and dispositional deterministic view driven by internal drives and disposition, as mentioned by social cognitive theory, alone actually will decide this agency problem with the moderation effect of this tension between internal interest and compulsion for recognition with lapse of regulation. So this is my methodology. I use can I proceed 1 minute? Okay. Okay, this is the research design. I will quickly go through. I'm following the interpretivism and critical theory. Research approach, according to Saunders 2019, is inductive, and research strategy is multiple case study. I have not yet complete this thematic study. Thematic analysis I have not yet come up with. And unit of analysis is actually unethical practices performed by each agent in order to obtain social acceptance. So each case study is a focus investigation that is examined holistically in totality. So data collection is based on preliminary study and archival records of communication, and multiple case study will be take place. And credibility is achieved, this trustworthy criteria is achieved through preliminary study, systematic literature review, and interview guide. I'm following interview guide in 2017 he has mentioned, and triangulation is data collection is there, and debriefing with expert with Dr. Jussi Kivisro, he is expert in agency theory, as what I've done with him, and dependability and conformability is there. This is the contribution, theoretical. Data analysis I have to yet to complete regarding thematic analysis. Only the, yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Vijay Singh. A very comprehensive presentation, right?
I'm
Yes, I think this is a very important area you have selected. We have experiencing day to day this issue about this private sector, higher education, and
Yes.
sometimes the quality and different stakeholders, different
Yes.
perspectives. Then I see you are very ambitious, right?
Yeah.
I'm really happy about your commitment and the development of so many things.
Yeah.
I think you're having several things, right? One thing is too much of this, what you call, too many theories you are having. The other thing is, if I talk about, you talk about agency theory,
Yeah,
and you bring
foundation.
some theories as we discuss,
Yeah.
something which are developed in the positivistic tradition, quantitative, like theory of planned behavior. You are trying to bring and
Yeah.
link that to the agency theory, but I think they are the expert in this qualitative studies and agency theory. I think that is more in the inductive tradition. I think what do you call inductive approach, more into interpretivist base theory.
Yes.
Then I don't know what's the rationale that you try to link this agency theory to other two theories you talk about in Bandura's social cognitive theory. Perhaps you can bring some things, but I don't know why theory of planned behavior. Then several variables from that you are drawing into your current explanation of the model. That is one thing I have. You have to think about, right, conceptually whether this theory can be linked, right? Sometimes you are talking about philosophical pluralism or something. You are talking about multiple things, right? Multiple perspectives. Even title also I like. Why you are talking about multiple perspectives, multiple theoretical perspectives. I don't know in the PhD is it?
Sir, I think because according to Hobbes and Hawke, I went through 2006, it gives wide understanding, holistic view, and complementariness. That advantage is there because agency theory is not sufficient, sufficiently occupied according to systematic literature review. It is not engaging the higher education much. So the other theoretical perspective explains much the behavioral intention aspect of the agency problem.
But I say multiple theoretical perspectives, like can you maybe limit that to a certain maybe multiple physics that to talk about everything in your study. That might be leading to so many theories and the things. But at the PhD level, my advice is maybe you can be limited, right? That is one advice I can give you. And the other thing is you talk about this what do you call ethical dilemma. That is okay, I think. But in your theoretical gap, you talk about something relevant to this, what do you call, current weaknesses or something in the agency theory you talk
Yeah,
about, no,
yeah.
as an issue.
Yeah.
Then I think you can bring some sort of intention, but I think not with the backing of positivistic theory like theory of planned behavior. But you talk about personal intention might be something which is not explained in the agency theory. Is that so? Like particular agents or the principal's
Yeah, the
intention might be.
agency theory is very narrow because they didn't mention the behavioral intention. It's
Yes, I identify that
yeah.
one. But to complement that one, the
Yeah.
particular selecting all these theories might not be the good way. Maybe you can have a one theory which
Yeah.
is much compatible with the particular agency theory. I think that is
It's, because
not, yes.
sir, I use this critical theory because it gains much.
Critical theory is not a theory, I think. No, that's an approach. I
Yes,
think I cannot
approach
think
and the
about.
post-colonial and subaltern perspectives, because the critical aspect is on the capitalization of this non-state higher education sector, as it's kind of McBurger approach in the higher education sector. More profit maximization is happening, the capitalization is happening rather than looking at the value side. And post-colonial.
Yes, one last thing. The other thing is about your conceptual framework. Then again, you are having these quantitative terms, positivistic tradition there again, moderators, conceptual indicator model. Then your original, I think, agency theory, qualitative, inductive nature might be lost somewhere, right? Moderation, I think Madam also mentioned moderation, right? These are some of the positivistic quantitative terms. You have to think about that one and further fine tune your how you are going to collect the data into protocols. I think those things you can focus on rather than you talk about this positivistic quantitative sort of construct and the things you are highlighting as a propositions or the hypothesis. That is also misleading sometimes, right? Those are my comments.
Right.
Thank you very much for your presentation. The presentation itself was very clear, but it is very complex, I have to say. So first thing is regarding the number of theories. Now, if you go to the slide where you show that in next slide, no? Yeah. Next one, where you have all a list of theories. One thing is, now when you're using multiple theories, you have to be really concerned about their ontological and epistemological foundations also. Because theory triangulation, I also have done some work on theory triangulation, and that the Professor Sahirul is my supervisor, and we subsequently did some work on theoretical triangulation. So one thing is, it's a highly debatable thing. There are a lot of cases for and against using triangulation. So you have to have a very strong justification why you triangulate, which theories you triangulate, and how through the triangulation you are addressing certain limitations of a particular theory, how they kind of putting them together enables a holistic understanding, how one has a limitation which gets, addressed by the other. So that integration, triangulation has to really come up very strongly. But the main issue, can you come to that? There was a slide where you had many theories mentioned later on towards the latter part.
This one, this is the last.
Not the proposition. No, can you go up a bit? No, anyway, yeah. So when you have where you listed the theories, you had, I think, towards the latter. Yeah, latter part, not the very last. Now, there were some theories with a positivistic origin, interpretivist origin, critical. So, like, there were so many philosophically, whether there is a mismatch, people can it can be contested. Of course, you can say that this is addressing something new. You have to clearly bring out views, what is that is missing in agency. That has to come to the foreground, and then you have to bring a case why you are triangulating with many theories. If so, what are the theories? Not this source. After you had many theories listed here. Now, are you going to use all these? That is really too much. Now, I have used triangulation in my PhD, and I used 2 theories. Initially, I tried to use 3, and there were a lot of arguments against. And you have to really be very careful in using, and these so many things together, it will be very difficult to bring them together because they have their own focus, they have their own philosophical grounds. So there can be tensions. How you bring them to the single path can be very challenging. And especially theory of planned behavior and with certain other Totally, yeah. The theories in different paradigms can be very much challenging. So you have to be very careful on that ground. So really focus what you want to do, and you can't do many things. You can't do so many cover, because then everything will be on a very surface level. You should be able to go deep. You are trying to do case studies. You have mentioned
Multiple case study.
yes, multiple again.
Yes.
Multiple, what are the multiple, how you're selecting the cases, that's another question. So with so many theories, so many cases can make your study very complicated, and it may compromise the depth that you want to do in a qualitative, because you're trying to do a qualitative inquiry, then depth is very critical. But when you try to cover many things, of course you will not have the ability to go very deep. That is a very important thing. And I saw the word embedded case. So I don't know whether if it's embedded, that has a particular meaning. Are you having embedded cases? Are you having 5 cases? Those are things you have to really tease out, because you can't use those terms, Yes, they have a particular meaning. So if it's embedded, why embedded? How are you using embedded? If it's 5 cases, what are the 5? How did you select those 5? Someone can question why 5? You could have done 1, you could have done 2, 3. So be very careful. Always higher the number of cases is not necessarily the best. You can even go with 1 for that matter. So you have to bring out clearly what's the lapse in the agency theory. That's really prompting you to go take this path. And I was not sure, have you done a preliminary study with 120 people?
Yeah,
You did?
Yes, at the
So then that could have been your study itself, isn't it? Why did
no,
you?
actually, I
Preliminary?
went through the research generation, idea generation.
No, so did you
preliminary.
speak to 120 people?
Because amicably it's a purposive judgmental sample.
Yes.
So actually, the purpose was to trace unethical practice.
Okay.
So out of
But that
500
itself could have been your core study, because you have
but
put
then
so
I
much
filtered
effort.
5 cases.
So much effort has gone to that,
yeah,
isn't it?
From 2019,
And time
I was
to
trying.
yeah.
Yes. And
That's-
I filtered to 5 cases now.
Yeah.
And
okay.
aiming on the thematic analysis.
Right. So you have also you did a systematic literature review.
Yeah, FING
Then
2010.
you did a review.
Yeah, with 16 journals. High
Okay.
education
So
journals.
that could give you a really a good ground to focus on. Based on the systematic literature
Yeah.
review, you can see what has been done,
Yeah.
what is yet not done, yet worthy of doing. You could have really
That is
Yes,
to
16
explore the
journals.
lapses in the agency theory. I did the systematic literature reviews.
How did you find the
on
16?
Between 2005 to 2022.
Why those years? If it's systematic, you have to justify why you select those years.
Because
also.
my
Yeah.
year in concern here is my preliminary study also conducted between 2019 and 2022.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, those
Journals of higher
16.
education, because my stream here is higher education sector.
Yeah. Keywords and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your systematic literature review would have told you what kind of theories past studies have used. That may help
Yeah,
you to
it's-
streamline and focus and pick up some gaps that are worthy of doing, rather than trying to do so much. It might be really too broad for a single study. I think you have to narrow down.
Madam, agency theory has been used in other disciplines.
Yes, no, I'm saying all this you are trying to use or triangulate with so many. Yes, because for instance, for my PhD, I use mainly institutional theory, actor network supplemented by institutional. So that was a bit of a triangulation, but I can't, because I have read quite a bit on triangulation, but 7 theories can be very challenging. And how you triangulate is
Because
really
I just
question.
wanted to find the reasons for these behavior intentions,
Can't
not
you,
one particular.
no, can't you go by, sorry, yeah. Have many things, no? Okay.
So when it comes to
Yes.
when it comes to Sri Lanka also, it's a post-colonial state. Because I want to search it and search. That's
because because theory of planned behavior with some other theories, some of the others can be really, there can be tensions. So, and especially at a PhD, you should be careful not to go into kind of controversial or, contestable things. Try to keep it simple. You've done a lot of things.
multiple
Multiple theories. Yeah.
Yes.
What are the multiple? And then in the title, you could have made it more informative rather than because this doesn't quite give more about what you are trying to do. I think you will have to simplify. No, simplify.
Right.
Yeah, you have done a lot. Yes, you have done a lot. I think using your preliminary data or something, you can
Because
really.
my ambition is to come up with these theoretical managerial implications are really
Yes,
important
yes.
here. I want to do something, that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Right.
You can read that other article also on theory triangulation. In addition to what you've said, they will say that every time, in all circumstances, you don't have to do triangulation, and you have to be cautious about how many theories and which theories you're triangulating. That's very important. Which theories and why
Right.
and how, because each have their own focus that you have to really think about.
Thank
Okay,
you
but
so much.
lot of effort is there. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the, so I feel there is this dilemma within you, a positivistic person trying to do qualitative interpretive. So positivism is creeping in terms of theory, your model, moderator, terminology, and all that. So you need to sort that out. Now, in your abstract, there was nothing about unethical behavior. But later on, you suddenly started talking about unethical behavior. But the title, abstract, nothing on unethical behavior. So there needs to be that flow and let us know what this is about, right? Then your slide 8, you have this problem statement and 1, 2, 3. Actually, that is not a problem statement. That puzzle is not coming out. What is the your research is on? That research problem needs to come out. And in one of your methodology table, you said interview guide available for case studies will be used.
That is in they have used interview guide is there.
But you prepare interview guide for your own research. You can't take somebody
Yeah,
because it's
I took the base. I have just mentioned the literature there, but where I use the foundation, and I use my working guidelines for the preliminary study interview, informal interviews as well. I didn't mention here.
no. Okay. Anyway, we have to be careful because whether it's questionnaire or whatever, we take other people's like quantitative, other people's validated measures. But questionnaire is something you develop for your own
Yeah.
study. Similarly, interview guide also, it's based on what the research questions are, what your problem, what you need to find out. The guide is prepared. They might give some advice how to prepare, but the term using interview guide available for case studies, meaning it's somebody else's case
Right.
study something. So you
I
need
have
to be very
mention
careful
here
with the
my one, no? Right.
terminology. You need to be very careful. And also your presentations were very texty, like copy paste from Word document. That's presentation should, yeah, presentation should be very brief. So yeah, so again, this is that dilemma. So when I saw this, I thought it's a quantitative study because you are talking about moderators, agency problem, all these lines and arrows. And then to see methodology, you started talking about interpretism. So that focus and be clear is required. But like you, the previous person, I have listened to you, I think last during the coursework as well as this. So progressing a lot because PhD is not easy and y'all are happy. I'm happy to see y'all are motivated to, working full time and plus focusing on this and still moving along without dropping out. So confident, yeah.
Very confident.
Thank you.
But it's much of a project, I think.
Thank you very much.
Think where you have to might have to let go of certain ideas, the strengths that you can't do everything in a single PhD. That's something I think a common point for everyone.
Yes.
You have to decide what to focus, what to drop. Difficult decision sometimes.
Thank you, Mr. Jesse.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience?
Oh dear.
Audience. Okay, thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you.